The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Live tonight from the Iowa Speedway, LSRTV is happy to say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the season opener of the 2017-2018 Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series. Tonight on your home for sim racing and iRacing Live, as we bring you action from Newton, Iowa on the Iowa Speedway for tonight's season opener, the Cornfield Chaos 107, presented by White Knuckle Clothing. As always, we're happy to have you with us at LSRTV and iRacing Live. Myself, Evan Posoko, joined by Austin Coop Topsod as we get set for another winter of short track racing on Thursday nights. And we're happy that you're a part of it. Downstairs as well is our lovely and talented producer, Cisco Scaramuza, twisted and tweaked dials, and making all of this possible. And Coop, we come into tonight getting ready to get this season kicked off. Had some limited opportunities between last season's finale and tonight to bring you some of the exhibition racing and some of the summer racing series that this Upstate Racing League has done. And if you weren't with us a couple of weeks ago, Al Smith Jr. took home the championship in their regular running schedule, if you will, championship. It was his first career championship at this level, but this is the flagship championship for this Upstate Racing League. The Pro Late Model Series is back with us for another season for the first tonight of 15 races this year, and we could not be more excited.
Yeah, we're going to start off here at the, I think you would say, the Daytona of the short tracks, the biggest track that we go to basically all season long. The only one really compared to it would possibly be Richmond, which I'm pretty sure is on the schedule I saw earlier. But, you know, these guys will... These guys will be going around this track at an extremely fast pace that they probably won't see the rest of the season. So I think we're going to see somebody kind of make out today that we may not expect later on in the season. But, you know, we've got the similar format to last season, too, where we've got those 10 races that will mark, you know, our playoff chase guys. And, you know, it'll be a lot like last season, but there's a lot of different faces in here in this series this year. We've got a lot of rookies, and about 26 total drivers have showed up tonight to race.
And something that we always follow along with this series, and it is going to be back again once here on top of the driver championship itself, is the fact that we will have the Brian Rogers Motorsports slamming through Rookie of the Year award, and there are plenty of rookie drivers competing in this 2017-2018 campaign. All of them had to race their way in through the summer approval series. Just some of those rookies include the likes of Trevor Valderrama, Curtis Martin, Brian Long, Dylan Prosler, Matthew Hoyt. You got Mark Royer and Rudy Wildrick, just to name a few. We have seen in the past rookie drivers be able to compete up inside of the top 10 and the top 5 of the championship, and a couple of years ago, Rasmussen, who is now a series veteran, did very well in his rookie tenure, so we can't count those drivers out. You will notice a couple of cars on track as we cycle high above the Iowa Speedway. Drivers right now just wrapping up their single car qualifying session with about a field of 25 plus for tonight's opener, and as soon as qualifying is done, we will go trackside for tonight's 107 lap affair. Some other housekeeping items to note: if you are not familiar with this Upstate Racing League, week in and week out, Race Control has the opportunity to allot drivers additional tires that are available down in the pits. You are not going to need any additional fuel to make it the distance on any of these races, but tonight there are 4 tires on pit road, which drivers can, they don't have to, but can decide to come down and take. So if we do see a couple of yellows over the course of the evening, that is going to be, I think, a key strategy point to keep an eye on.
Yeah, we'll see that change over the season. You know, the standard is that they'll have the 4-tire rule, but they will occasionally actually make it so they aren't able to get any tires, and that'll be that'll be a lot like our Wednesday night series. But you've got to imagine that these guys, whenever they get those tires, I mean, they play such a big strategy in this series, and that's what really makes this unique than in a lot of other series. That they do have that tire allotment, but they have to use it wisely. You know, and we see it make or break some races. You know, in the race 2 weeks ago, we saw it. We saw a huge turn of events when a caution came out, and you know, one driver was at a disadvantage and was not able to take the checkered flag despite their speed. And you know, we might see that tonight as well. We might see drivers, you know, pit at lap 50, and then we've got a caution around lap 70. That's going to change the whole scheme of things.
Names we're going to be keeping an eye on include AJ Hamel, who won that Approval Series championship. The driver who made his rookie tenure in this Pro Late Model Series last year took home his second career Approval Series championship over the summer. He's obviously going to be somebody to keep an eye on tonight, and he is yet to qualify. We're running on board with the drivers as they go around the racetrack right now. The way that qualifying has been working is that based on the practice results, the first car to qualify was the last place car in practice. So that's why the running order live on the scoring sheet is going to be continuing to update, and we'll take a look at the complete results top to bottom when cars do head trackside. This race, though, tonight from the Iowa Speedway, again, one of the longer runs on the season. We will go to the likes of Martinsville, Fly Flags, that are some of the larger tracks in this series, but Iowa's right up there for tonight's 107-lap main event. It's going to mean that it's 94 miles of racing start to finish, but the way this championship will work as well, which I'm really looking forward to, Coop, is the fact that we are going to have, towards the end of the season, a chase for the championship. It is going to be a 10-race regular season, and then the races are going to get a little bit longer, averaging from about 110 to 125 laps in the regular season, up closer to 150 with the 200-lap season finale. So those 5 chase races are going to be rounds 11 through 15. They're going to take us to the likes of Richmond, Oxford, Southern National, Myrtle Beach, and New Smyrna. That is still well on down the line. I don't think we can realistically start talking about championship stuff until we at least get to the halfway point in this regular season, but never hurts to give an outlook on what these drivers are going to have to be fighting for. You don't have to be perfect, is the point, I think, in these opening 10 races. You got to be good enough to make that cut.
Yeah, that and the fact that you won't really have any repeat races in this entire season. If you're good at one track, you know, you can really show it off, but you may not return to that, or you're not going to return to that track. So if you're really good at a South Boston kind of track, well, there's tracks like it, but you're not going to get those exact tracks again. So really, I think that's a big deal, is that those guys who do get into the last 5 races or so, you know, they got to really be good at those tracks as well. You know, they can't just be good at the first 10 and then the last 5. You know, I think that's something to really watch. It's going to be really, I'd say, interesting that there's no repeat tracks on the schedule, and the distances, you know, like you said, are pretty similar, which I think is pretty awesome as well.
It looks like now old drivers who are going to qualify may have done so. It looks like 23 drivers total putting down a time in the qualifying session. Race control just going over some final instructions before we drop the green flag on this season. And again, would be remiss to not give thanks to White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated, who is the new title sponsor of this Upstate Racing League Pro Late Model Series for 2017 and 2018. We are happy to have them on board. Also want to give a tip of the cap to Les Enterprises MP Roy Incorporated, also, who has been a big part of this series as a title sponsor in years past. They're going to be a race sponsor at points in the season, but a big thanks to them and all the partners that we'll be talking about as the season goes on, who make this racing on Thursday nights possible at LSRTV and iRacing Live. All of that being said, the qualifying session now has officially seen the red flag come out, and cars are on track for tonight's Cornfield Chaos 107, so we go trackside and take a look at our LSRTV starting grid for the season opener. And Matt Cucker is going to qualify on a pole position for this one with a 24.269. The driver who is 5th best in practice finds the extra speed when he needs it, and he will roll from the front, accompanied with the number 99 machine of Eric Hagg, who rolls from 2nd. Alex Oriens and Jake Watson going to make up row number 2. They start in 3rd and 4th position respectively, with Stefan Marinak inside of the top 5.
Last year's champion, Nicholas Rasmussen, he'll start in the 6th position. Then you've got Sean Cool, who's going to start in the 7th position. AJ Hamill, 8th. Kyle Carpentier, he'll start in the 9th position. And then you've got Dylan Prosler, he'll start in the 10th position.
And back on the inside of row number 6, Danny DeBuke is going to bring the number 61 Sonic Food off at 11th position, joined by Al Smith Jr. on the outside in the number 12 spot. Mike Holtzclaw gets tonight's on looking at a 13 starting spot, joined outside of row 7 by Wayne McDuff III in 14th position. And Guillemani Fortin looking to pick up, did not have the qualifying time that matched that car's speed in practice, and he's 15th.
And then starting the 16th position is going to be Brian Rogers Jr., Zachary Mason. They'll start in the 17th position. Then Curtis Martin and Trevor Valderrama will start 18th and 19th. And then Jay Dubuque, he'll start in the 20th position.
Final 3 cars to take a time to qualifying tonight. 21st position goes to Rex Hoyle, with Mark Royer to the outside in the number 22 spot, and Rudy Wildrick is the final driver to take a time to queue in 23rd. Provisionals, though, get around things throughout. Scott Naslund will start tonight in 24th position, with Brian Long in 25th and James McIntyre Jr. in 26th. That's a complete look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. 26 cars strong tonight from the Iowa Speedway. The lights are out on top of the pace car. Pace car is going to be in the next time by as we get set to go racing for 107 laps. And again, this series is with us annually throughout these fall and winter months at LSRTV and iRacing Live. And when we don't get to see much of them throughout the year, outside of that, they have been busy in these off months. But this is their premier series. The approval series is fun to be a part of. The summer series is, but this is the Pro Late Model Series. It's back at LSRTV, and we're a lap away from going green.
Yeah, and a hard-fought championship last year that came down to the final 2 races was, quite the championship to really look forward to have again. And I think we're going to definitely be in store for that. We have a lot of drivers, a lot of competitive drivers that are going to bring some talent to the table. Just look at the top 5 and you get a lot of fast drivers right there. So I expect all of these guys in this field to give us a good show today and the rest of the season.
Race car in this time. The field is going to be in the hands of the number 69 Chevrolet of Matt Cucker. As always, we're happy that you're spending your evening with us at LSRTV, your home for sim racing and iRacing Live. But we also hope that it is going to be the first of many Thursday nights as we go racing for the first of 15 times as we get the Pro Late Model Series underway from Iowa. American Ethanol, green flag in the air, and we are racing in this white knuckle clothing Pro Late Model Series to turn number 1 as the Cornfield Chaos 107 is underway.
And on that start was really chaotic, actually. It looks like Matt Cucker already has rear end damage in the 3. And I think that, or the 9 of Alex Oriens already has some front end damage. And with a track like this, that's, I don't know if that's very good for the 9 of Oriens right there. So they're going to go 3 wide for the lead on the first lap just for a little bit. That's what this track has the ability to do. And so it looks like they're still 3 wide for the 3rd or 4th position. But, oh, wow, contact turn 1. That's a huge wreck.
And Watson is up into the outside wall, and he is going to get tagged by the 12. Caution flag is out after a whale of a hit down in turn number 1. And Alex Oriens, we were just talking about maybe he had damage. I also thought that Cucker was really struggling, because he really missed the entry to turn number 3, and I thought that that 9 machine had just kind of backed it off, finally got back down in line, and it looks like he just missed the corner by a lot. And as everybody started to go down, he just kept going straight, went right up into the 88 machine. That wheel was on full lock to the left. He just drove in there way too hard, and there was no way that Watson could have seen that one coming.
And you gotta feel bad for that driver and all the other drivers that kind of got involved too. I mean, that's not the way you really want to start the season, is being involved in a wreck. And some of these guys, they'll be going to the pits. They'll be getting repairs done, of course. But definitely, I guess it's okay to have if something's bad's gonna happen. You'd rather have it early in a race. But even then, some of those guys get some heavy damage. The 88, especially, and then Rasmussen was right behind that too. You saw that in the replay. He just went up to the track and hit the wall, trying to actually slow down before he hit him. But damage was, he was already there. Hit the 88 and was on from there, and then he got hit into again. So not really looking good for our champion from last season. But I mean, it's only the first race, but definitely not the way they want to start this first race.
And that 12 machine that you saw come in there late, Brian Rogers Jr., his night is already done because he hit that basically almost centered on the nose. It was a little bit over to the right side of that car, but that completely destroyed the engine in his machine, and he's not even going to have an opportunity to try to repair that car. His night is done at lap number 4, and he will end up getting the 26th and final spot in this race. Everybody else up front, again, more or less okay. It was a big incident, but only about 4 or 5 cars, I think, got a substantial amount of damage, and pit lane is open to them every single time by Rasmussen, Naslin, some of the names on the pit lane right now, and some of those are big names in this championship. Again, there is a chase that's going to reset everything after the opening 10 races, so you are not going to lose a shot at a championship in week number 1, but for so much build-up to finally get underway, you hate to have your night end like that barely a minute in.
But for a lot of the other guys who may not have the speed, I mean, there's a lot of fast drivers that were taken out in there that were fast in practice and in qualifying. So to those other guys who may not be good at a track like this actually gives them kind of an opportunity to kind of take what's going bad for some other guys and make it good for them. You know, I think I look through the grid, and Gabe Mayfortin, he's in the 8th position. He got a lot of positions on that mishap on turn 1, and you can also think of Stefan Marinak was just able to edge away from there, and you never know who's going to be able to rally later on in this race. But right now, those guys are, you know, they're looking in a good position. They definitely weren't there earlier because of, you know, where they qualified, and so this is a big track position track. You know, if you can get out there towards the first 5 positions, you're probably going to be able to sit up there unless you absolutely destroy your tires. But, you know, Cucker, Hag, Marinak, Cool, and Charpentier, you know, they're in good positions right now.
The lights have gone out on top of the base car, so we restart with 6 laps complete, and it is going to be still with 101 laps to go. Plenty of ways at this 7/8 of a mile short track at Newton, Iowa. No real major changes aside from maybe row 2, because obviously the drivers involved in the accident subtracted from this one. It's still going to be Cucker in control and Hag in P2. The 69, though, with the ability to control which lane he wants to be in on this restart, and from this point on is going to decide to go to the outside in comparison to where he started on the bottom earlier tonight, so it is going to put Hag down low. But Marinak goes 5th to 3rd, Cool 7th to 4th, and Kyle Carpentier from 9th to P5, so a lot of shuffling up from off of the front row, at least towards the front of the field still. Pace car down this time by. We'll see what the 69 wants to let him go. That's a wide window for what he wants to restart this race, and he times it well. Back green in the Cornfield Chaos 107, and he's got a couple of car lengths over the battle for P2 as Hag tries to defend his position.
And for a moment there, they were thinking about going 3 wide, and I was thinking that might not be the greatest idea, but after that, looks like they get a little bit of single file behind them, and wow, the number 99 has quite some, or he lost that position actually, and John Cool, he's got some speed right now in that 24 machine. You see him right behind Cucker right there. He is absolutely fast here. He's gone 7th to 2nd here, and I don't think it's just by luck right now, and of course he's got to get by him in order to, you know, really make that statement, but still going really fast on the outside. That's where you really want to be. It looks like on these restarts as the 99 has lost 2 positions since that start, and I don't know if he's going to continue to lose more, but he is trying that bottom line, which he's actually going to get Marinak on right there. Marinak had a mistake off of turn number 4, so he's going to be able to capitalize on it.
And they are side by side at the line, but Hag going to be clear on the inside, at least into turn number 1. The 25 trying to drive it to keep it up top, and he will. And that side-by-side battle for 3rd is going to continue on. Was some battling behind them, and now again side-by-side between AJ Hamill and Kyle Charpentier in a battle for 5th and 6th position. So lots so going on inside of the top 10 as your top 2 try to pull away just a little bit. Cool is not going to let Cucker get away without a fight. Still side-by-side for 3rd. Hag continuing to work all the way down to that yellow line. Makes it look a little bit difficult for him to get the run off of the turn, where Marinak's a little bit quicker.
That's something that this Iowa Speedway is able to do, is going to have some distinct lines at the bottom and the top. They're both pretty effective, although I'd say the top is probably where you want to be, just because that bottom line, it kind of abuses your tires. The top does too in a separate way, but I feel like you're always going to be able to keep that momentum despite your tire wear. So, you know, lap after lap, the 99's putting up a great fight in the bottom, and Marinak, he's putting a good fight on the top, and the battle behind them as well with the 333 and the 13 behind them. They're doing a good job of fighting. I mean, they're actually catching these two just a little bit between their battles, so good 4 positions right here up for grabs.
And they're very tightly packed together, third through sixth position the last time, within 3/10 of one another. Another bobble by the 25 of Marinak, though. That's the same thing that allowed the 99 of Hag to get a hit inside a couple of laps ago, was that the 25 made a mistake. That one is going to allow Hag to clear him for third, and El Guilami Fortin on the inside basically just assumes the next spot up on the inside. He has not even cleared that 33 of Carpentier yet, and he's already now trying to get up to P4, still on the inside, and even he looks sideways that time at a quarter. So everybody trying to get a handle on these things early as the 25 is able to defend what is now P4.
Yeah, it looks like the 13 drifted up the track, but we're going to have a caution that's going to stop all this happening right now, and it appears to be one car slid around, two cars, Scott Naslund and Valderrama. They're both on the backstretch, just stopped.
And it looks like this issue actually is going to start with the O2. Michel Valderrama was in a great position and picked up 6 spots after starting at 19th and running in 13th at the moment. And right where we saw Marinak get sideways at a 2, giving Hag the position in the battle for 3rd and 4th, we saw the O2 get sideways as well. But as soon as he was able to snap that car back around, it just came too far up the hill, got into the outside wall, and then they ran out of real estate trying to get around him. And that 33 at Aslan, who was well and far behind where the initial spin was, tried to gas high, guessed incorrectly, and got sandwiched into the outside wall.
Yeah, you got to feel for him that he wasn't able to do it. But Valderrama was actually getting the car slowed down, and he just wasn't... I don't think you could say he was on the brakes hard enough, but he did get hit right before that. So I think Valderrama was going to be good and out of the way until he got hit that second time. So definitely not something Valderrama could have done anything about. He just got hit a second time while he's already spinning out. Already probably a little bit of salt in the wounds, I guess, of already having an issue off of turn 2. But there is a little bit of difficulty, it looks like, in these cars off of turn number 2, it looks like.
And the Iowa Speedway is not the loosest racetrack when I think of, just how challenging it is going to be in these late models. And it is nighttime conditions as well, as you can clearly see running under the lights tonight. Track conditions only 1 degree warmer than the atmospheric temperature, 77 degrees outside and 78 trackside. So it is not a very hot and slick kind of racetrack, and it's not that kind of loose. I think it's just these drivers, and we saw it up front. And if the guys up front, the fastest cars, are going to be struggling with it, the guys in the back are going to be as well. We do have a call, though, for the pit lane. Race leader is coming in. Matt Kucker is going to come down. Again, 4 tires available over the course of this race. He's one of the few guys up front, though, that wants him at lap 16.
Yeah, it looks like he's the only guy right now that's coming down to get pit stopped, so we'll be able to kind of micromanage and see what he's going to be doing here in pit road right now, as he is the only guy to come down. But I'm pretty surprised. We'll have to see exactly what's going on and whether he's going to take tires. It looks like that's not the case, at least at the moment. He does have that rear end damage, though, and that might be slowing him down, although he's going to go from 1st to 23rd, so... bold strategy. It might pay off for him. We'll just have to see with what happens with him getting through the field, because he's still on the old tires, so he still can get new tires later on. All 4 of them will be up for grabs with those 2 jacks.
And the thing that I don't understand is he comes down and gets the damage repaired, but you're going to be giving up so many positions that I would have expected him not having made the pit stop just for tires, but having been down pit road because of the damage would have taken tires, because he's going to need a lot of assistance getting through the field, because it looks like he'll restart at about 22nd position. That's a lot of ground, but maybe the thought process is that, hey, I've got a quick car, top 5 at a practice, qualified on a pole. I'm going to be quicker than most of the guys back here outside of the top 10, so maybe try to work around them on even tires, and then later in the race go for that tire advantage. The way we typically see this with the 4-tire availability, and again, not all of the races this year are going to have 4 tires down in the pit stall. Some may have 2, some may have none, but at least for these first 3 opening weeks, old drivers going to have an opportunity to take 4 tires. That if there's a caution towards the midway point, that's when everybody pits to get those 4 tires. You may see if the race has more yellows than that, somebody want to get 2 earlier on, maybe they'll go with right sides only, and then they'll get left sides later on, or 2 sets of right sides over the course of this race. But we don't typically see people go for the tire call this early, so maybe that as well explains why the 69 machine wanted to go with explicitly only trying to get that car fixed up.
Also possible that he likes the car a little bit looser and he wanted to put more fuel in it, but even then, I mean, we've only ran about 15 laps. Still unsure, but nonetheless, he's going to start from the back, and we'll see if he can come up back to the front. So it looks like they're going to be doubling up here at the front of the field as the pace car's lights are off.
And a lot happened between that last restart and this one, obviously, with the pole sitter dropping back and restarting in 21st position. Knuckle now assumes the race lead. Second time in a row, control car is going to choose the outside of the racetrack. In his Ski-Doo machine, it's going to be Eric Hagas back up to second. Once again on the inside of the front row with Stefan Baranek in third. The biggest mover tonight, though, is Guamani Fortin from 15th to 4th on the outside of row number 2. And then the likes of Kyle Charpentier in 15th, AJ Hamill, Dylan Prosler, Al Smith Jr., Mike Holtzclaw, and Zachary Mason going to round through the top 10. Pace car in this time once more, 18 laps complete in tonight's Cornfield Chaos 107, presented by White Knuckle Clothing. The 24 machine waiting to go green. Everybody tightens up to the back bumper, and he will wait all the way to the exit of the restart box as we go green.
Yeah, good jump by him as we saw in the first restart as well. And look at the battle for second right now. Looks like Eric Hag actually gets a little bit of a push from the 25. The 25 and the 13 going to be doing battle here out of turn number 2. And we saw Stefan Baranek on the top earlier. Now he's going to have to do battle on the bottom here for that third position. He's kind of been there the entire time, but he gets a really good run into the corner. He might slide up right in front of him. He actually leaves the door open. He had the clear, but did not come up. So perhaps he likes that middle line, like the bottom line, or just kind of thought for courtesy. But it looks like he's also trying to go for the pass on the 99 as well. But that's not going to be able to come out just yet. He's still going to be battling the 13 for second.
The battle is going to continue. Third, in fact, is where all the excitement was on that last stint, and it is there once more. This time, Baranek working on the bottom of the racetrack. Top 2 in front, single filed out. Charpentier all by himself in 5th position behind, and that may be one of the only side-by-side fights inside of the top 10 at the moment. The 25, though, again, with the script being flipped on him, is now trying to work on the bottom. And surprising to me here is, as Fortin wins that battle and gets third away, is that they really didn't lose a lot of time to the race leaders in that exchange.
And that's because they're actually fighting for position right in front of them. Looks like Eric Hag's going to go to the very bottom of the track. And actually leaves the door just a little bit open for the 13. And he's fast here, Evan. He's absolutely killing it out there with these guys. And I'd say he's faster than both of the guys in front of him by a good margin. He's been able to really save those tires quite a bit and just be able to cut through the field a little bit pretty. And then really get to these guys pretty fast. And since they're going side by side, they have no room for margin. And Fortin's just kind of sitting there just waiting for something to happen. It's hard to make a move happen 3 wide here, especially if you've only got the middle or the bottom, the very bottom to go. So with these guys still doing battle and a little bit of a shake up for the 24 on the outside, he's going to have someone to his inside. He's going to take it anyways. He's going to the bottom with the 25 of Baranek still there. May not have made the 25 happy, but he's still there on the inside.
Oh, the 24 is going to catch the fence that time by Sean Cool. Going to go for the race lead to third in 1 lap, and it might even be lower because he tagged the fence that time at turn 4. I don't think that big reaction by that car was because he hit it so hard as much as maybe that tire almost ran up the fence a little bit, but it definitely almost snapped that 24 sideways, and Baranek on the inside is trying to clear Cool. Not going to be able to do it once more. Again, the outside just has that benefit of being able to get back to the gas much sooner than those on the bottom, and the straightaways at Iowa aren't huge between 4 and 1 and between turns 2 and 3, but they are bigger than most of the tracks that we'll be going to, and it definitely is keeping the 24 in this side-by-side fight for third as everybody chases down new race leader Eric Hag.
And even with this, you got to think he hit the wall just a little bit. This is such a momentum-based track, and we'll see that if anyone else has any issues, as we're seeing a battle for the lead here, 13's going to the very bottom of the track. It's not going to have traction. He's actually going to lose a lot of speed here, just like I was talking about. It's a momentum-based track, and if you lose any momentum, you're going to have an issue. 25 is going to go to the very outside of the track and try and get some momentum here, but you're going to see that they might meet in the middle here. Just he gives them the room, actually. The 13 was really close to coming up right in front of him, though. But they're going to still do battle side by side. But the 13 went to go for that pass and just did not have the speed. The grip was not there in the bottom and just slowed down, and that's why the 25 was right there to pounce.
And this battle is not going to go unchallenged. Marinac just having to regain third, wants a little bit more. This time at the inside of the 13. Awfully close quarters that time off for the quarter, but a battle for now P2 continues. Just want to note, still fighting throughout the top 10. Charpentier's been able to win a battle with Dylan Prosler to maintain 5th and 6th position respectively. And now Fortin really losing it at a turn number 2, dropping way back and out of the picture. It's going to hand Marinac a comfortable P2 as that number 13 machine tries to just stay top 5 now.
And they may go 3 wide for that 3rd position right there, and they definitely will. Who's going to back out of it? I don't think any of them are going to, and they might meet in the middle. They do. The 24 is going to go around. And that's going to bring out the caution.
And he's going to be able to hang on to it. At a moment, that Chevrolet looked like it was destined for a meeting with the inside fence, and he will hang on. Caution is still out, and that 3 wide gone awry in turn number 3, interestingly enough. Or rather, turn 182, but that 24 machine, I mean, kind of the sandwich in the middle. It's always the toughest position to be in a 3 wide scenario. You know, the 13 machine, I think you have to expect Fortin's got to come down, Coop, into the quarter at some point. If you don't dive it down, you're just not going to make the turn. And that 24 machine, I think, was a little bit weary of Charpentier on his inside. It gave him plenty of space, but then kind of ended up in the direct line of that 13 machine, in the epitome of just a racing deal.
Yeah, it's really hard to beat the meat in the sand, which is exactly what he was. He was just right there in the middle and had nowhere to go. So, you know, if he would have drifted down lower, it's possible that, you know, the 333 of Carpentier, you know, if he would come up a little bit. You know, you're seeing the replay here in just a little bit about exactly what happened. You know, he just came up the track just a little bit. He had the room on the bottom, but it's hard to tell sometimes what exactly the guy on the bottom is going to do, or whether he's going to dive it in really hard, or whether he's going to, you know, come up towards the track. So it's hard to make that decision, but nonetheless, he did get out of it, you know, a little bit clean, and I think he's actually going to be able to keep a good position on it.
We pace again once earlier in this race. I think 3rd caution on the night right now at lap number 31. When we get on those green flag stints, we start to really knock off the laps again at this Iowa Speedway. Under green flag conditions, you're running lap times just a little bit over 25 to 26 laps every single time around. Just an update on some of the drivers, though, who have had issues courtesy of these opening couple of caution flags. Trevor Valderrama's night is done. He's the 2nd driver to retire. He'll finish 25th this evening, and it looks like Zachary Mason as well has pulled the plug. He may be able to maintain 23rd. That is if Scott Naslin does not return to the racetrack. Right now that 33 is 24th, but is still on track. He's on pit road at the moment, so if he doesn't get out on track and it banks up at least 12 laps, Mason's going to be able to maintain a 23rd position. Still obviously not what any of those folks back there were looking for, but in the grand scheme of things, one extra shot could be a lot bigger than it may seem now in importance when it comes to trying to make that championship cutoff later on down the line. But at least 3 drivers out of this race with 21 total still scored on the lead lap.
And when you start to talk about drivers here just trying to you know, get every point they can despite what the conditions that they're in, I start to think about the 71 of Nicholas Rasmussen, who is, of course, last season's champion, and he's sitting in the 12th position right now. He's got a really banged up car. I mean, he had a 7th place practice time, an equally good time to get him 6th, and he's in 12th right now, and I don't think he really has the car to go up there and even be a top 5 car, but you know, he needs to stay up there to try and get every position, try and be out there in case anyone else has a mistake, or maybe try some strategy. You know, no one's really come down for tires that I've seen coming you know, to lap 33, and yeah, we'll just have to see exactly what he does in order to try and keep his position up, as well as a lot of other guys. He's not the only guy with damage. You know, the guy behind him, Brian Long, has some right rear damage, and looks like Jay Dubuque, he has some as well, and he's sitting in 16th.
Some of the upcoming races in this Upset Racing League, a White Knuckle Clothing Pro Late Model Series. We'll be back at it in 1 week's time from Stafford Motor Speedway for the Arts Barber Shop 125. And the next 2 upcoming races on top of that is the Joker's eSport 150 at South Boston and the OnToPitRoad.com 100 at Martinsville Speedway. You can get a full upcoming look at what Upset Racing is going to be with us at LSRTV online at LiveSimRacing.com. That's just a little bit of a sneak peek at what's going to be coming coming up in the next couple of weeks as we start to slowly tiptoe into this season, and everybody wants to be the first guy to win. It helps so much. And again, is the first win on the season going to be worth any more points than winning rounds 2 through 10? No. But I think that it does, on a level of momentum, have a very underrated benefit to some because of the fact that you just open things up. You kind of get that confidence. This is a series that does not have a lot of off weeks. You're going to be at it week in and week out, and sometimes psyching yourself out does you no good. This is, I think, when you just look at the size of the field scoop as well as some of the familiar names and some of the new drivers, one of the most competitive short track leagues out there anyway. So any way you can get some small upper hand, whether it be a psychological advantage or a physical advantage, you got to jump on that.
Yeah, and these guys in the top 5, they've kind of been there the entire time. I mean, when you're a driver, you know, back in the pack is ready to go green, you can sometimes think that, you know, these guys are just a little bit out of your class or out of your league, but there's a lot of fast guys back there as the pace car is going to duck down under the pit road, and we're going to get another green flag by Eric Hag. He's going to get himself a great jump here.
He leads off and away, green flag once more, 34 laps complete. Let's go 3 wide for second. Look at the triple three, a Charpentier to the outside of the racetrack. It's going to put Marinak in the middle, the 13 on the bottom, and I don't think it was on purpose, but what a slide job by Fortin over the nose of the 25. Marinak probably not a fan of that move as he stays on his bumper, probably looking to get something back.
Yeah, and he's got some right rear damage, and I'm sure the 25 does too, but that didn't really work out for either one of them, to be honest with you, because the 33 was able to get around him, and he's gone from 9th to 2nd as well, so he's doing pretty well getting himself back up to the field. But if those guys have been able to get themselves from, you know, where they are to the front, I have a feeling that we're also going to see another driver. Possibly he had gotten the pole earlier. He might be able to make an appearance back towards the front as well. I would say that definitely he's a good you know, the number 69 of Matt Cucker, he'll probably be able to get back up there as well with, you know, the way he's coming up through the field. You know, he's already back up to 8th as well. So a lot of guys, they have this long run speed, and look at the 333. He's absolutely catching Eric Hag right now, and Eric Hag, he's just losing a little bit each lap. And I think it's going to be the biggest thing is passing. How are you going to be able to pass as leader? We haven't really seen very many passes for this lead yet.
We've seen a lot of side-by-side inside of the top 5, but not particularly for the race lead. Again, Hag was able to take it over on a restart 2 times ago. He was given the inside of the racetrack by at-time control car, who wanted to be up on the top side of the racetrack, and since then the 99 assumed the race lead on the following yellow and has not looked back. You're not able to really get separated from anybody here either. Just look how tight those top 3 or 4 cars are. In fact, the top 6 last time by still within a second of each other. So while they are single filed out, and I think may be the most spread out restart we've seen tonight, that's still not saying much because the battle for the race lead definitely still on.
Yeah, I definitely can't forget that the draft does play a little bit of a factor here in this race, and the yellow flag will also play a factor in this race as we're going to have another one here. It looks like might have Jake Watson. He's going to have a bad night go worse as he gets involved with, looks like, the number 65 of Jay Dubuque, and hard hit for both of them.
Yeah, the 65 machine got sideways, very similar to the incident with Valderrama earlier tonight down in turn number 2. That car snapped back up the hill. The 88 guessed incorrectly on the best way to avoid that car, and he got absolutely slammed into the outside wall, and it was Watson over the radio who said, "Are you kidding me?" Because it's one thing to get involved in an accident, sure, but you just hate when it's not your fault. And even if you're in the accident and you know it's just 2 cars getting together, I'm sure you're always telling yourself that wasn't me, it was the other guy. But it especially stinks when it's just somebody in front of you all on their own and you just get caught up in it. And I think Watson actually is going to end up getting the worst of that because he's got a lot of engine damage and he's just barely limping it back to the pit stall.
Remember, he was the guy who got tagged by the 9 of Alex Orions on that opening stint. Like, you think after the 2nd lap in the first corner, you know, he just got tagged out of nowhere in a very similar situation. So I think for the 88, it's I think it's time to put the wheel up. I don't think he's really got a choice at this point, to be honest with you. It's a really smoky engine at this point, but you know, when you get a bad night that's going bad like that, I think it's definitely a good idea to just kind of take a step back. You know, it's hard to really kind of to have that happen, especially twice. I mean, I think we've all been in the situation where something's not been our fault, and it's just really frustrating, but there's not really anything he can do about it now. So I think it's one of those things. It's the first race, and there's a lot he can do the rest of the season to make up for it.
Just trying to keep an eye on some of the folks around 5th through 15th position or so, because of the fact that obviously there's been so much going on up in the top 5. We haven't seen much of these drivers. A couple of guys going forwards, a couple going backwards. Just want to update you on about Knuckle, though, a story that we've been following from the start. Your pole sitter did decide to come down to the pit lane to what appeared to be just simply to get damage repaired. Didn't see him take on any tires. Not sure if adding any additional fuel would have made any sense, because you do have enough on board to make tonight's 107 lap distance. But he's been able to slowly creep up a little bit from 21st position up to 19th, and he's obviously had to make an audible call in that, because we were hypothesizing why did he go with tires and such, and he came back down pit road again that time, I think, to get some more damage repaired. So he's not concerned about track position at the moment. His intention seems almost exclusively focused on just trying to get that car as close as he can back to 100% first.
And, you know, with the way these cautions have been going out, you know, I think last year they only had a caution or two the entire race, and this one has had a few more, of course. And if the trend continues, you really don't want to get tires until you think it's going to be the last caution, because then you can beat all the rest of your competitors. I will say there's going to be a point where it'll be too late, of course, and they all know that. But it's one of those things where if you pit here at lap 50, or, you know, lap 43 is what it's on now, if you pit now and then another caution comes out, you're really out of luck on those tires, and it's a real gamble to pit at any point, especially when it's you know, it's a caution, a couple cautions here and there that we've been having like tonight. So something that's I guess you could call it a crapshoot, because for some drivers, if they choose the right decision, it's going to really pay off for them. But if you choose the wrong decision, it doesn't really show what you might have had.
Expecting the lights to go out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car as of this time around. As we work under the yellow once more, I want to remind you that coverage of tonight's Upset Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series is brought to you by our friends at Joel Real Timing, the official timing software of LSRTV. Whether you spend your time on the sim, behind the wheel, on top of the pit box, or from the spotter stand, JRT is your go-to software for iRacing timing and scoring analytics. You can get yourself the basic downloaded for free, or get the full pro version online today by going to www.joel-real-timing.com for more information. This restart is to come just 10 laps away for the halfway point. When we do get to that cross flags moment and we begin to count down towards the end of this race, we'll take a look completely top to bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. But in the meantime, how does this restart shake out? Third time in a row, control car wants the top. That puts Haggerty outside and Charpentier to the bottom.
I think it's just an obvious, it's pretty obvious what they want right now. That they know that the momentum is on the outside, and you also won't really have that much of a contest on the inside from whoever's there. So, iRacing pace car about to go down. We'll just see what happens.
Again, the 99 has between the pace car goes down to the green flag to try to restart this race. To go a little bit off of the cuff, and he gets a good jump. Hag is going to clear to turn number 1. Again, you cannot change lanes before the restart, though, so just now he's able to slide down in front of Charpentier to be able to defend and put a 2.5 car length advantage down the back.
Also going on for that third position, as it always has on these restarts. They've got a little bit 3 wide back behind them as well. We haven't really looked at the battles behind them, as you know, for second place it's looks like it's dying down a little bit, and that's still 3 wide here for the top 10 positions right now. And you're going to look at Al Smith Jr., Holtzclaw, Rasmussen's in there still holding the bottom as well. So, you know, we haven't really talked about a lot of those guys. You know, they've been in accidents or just kind of like in the middle of it all. So looks like the one of Dylan Proster is also going to go to the bottom right here and try and get that position. That's going to be for 6 right here on AJ Hamill. That's a good battle for position right there, as the battles in front of him also still heating up, and battle for second and the lead.
The 33 was right on the doorstep that time. He's going to go for the outside line, sideways, and Charpentier really trying to wheel that car. He's going to bring it back in, but just about junked it in the process. Fantastic save to be able to keep that car on track. It's going to cost him not only 1, but now 2 positions, as Sean Cool will pass him up on the inside, and in the blink of an eye, he falls to P5 on track as the battle for the race lead is on. And Baranek back on that outside outside line, should have the advantage this time, but at turn 2, Haig trying to keep it right there on the left rear quarter panel, will not let the 25 clear him yet.
The 25 from Marinak's always kind of been that guy to not get the lead immediately, but been able to kind of get up there towards a middle or late part of the run in a race. And right now, this is exactly what he's doing. He's able to really conserve those tires a little bit more than the rest of those guys. And right now, he's almost halfway, and he has the lead. And it was quite the quite impressive way to get it. You know, kind of got it off a mistake with 30-33. The 99 was looking at his mirror and just kind of got it at the right time, I'd say. And it's the first pass we've seen for the lead on that bottom side that's been so dominant. And now he's really starting to pull away. You know, he got himself 2/10 lead, almost 3/10 lead in front of these guys. He's still pulling away. He's got 3 or 4 car lengths now in front of Haig. So he's been really fast. He just hasn't been able to show it because he's been behind these guys. And now you can definitely see it. And you can also see that the 33 had some speed earlier too. And I think the reason why he got loose is just because he had so much momentum. And he just caught the 99 too quick when it happened.
And it's kind of hard to tell just based on stats specifically, you know, who's going to have an upper hand in this battle. Marinak was better in the practice session than Haig, but Haig out-qualified him when it came down to that one-lap qualifying effort. So I think that him getting close to him and staying on his bumper right off of the restart was critical, and Marinak's been able to go to the race lead because now the clean air should be of big benefit. There is that small draft. It helps you down the straightaways, but it does you no favors in the corner, taking the downforce off of the nose of that race car. The 99 is there, but he might kind of find himself in this limbo, 2 to 3 car lengths back, not being able to make up that little bit extra. That's almost equidistance between everybody inside of the top 5, with Haig P2, Fort in 3rd, Charpentier 4th, and with Sean Cool in 5th position. All of those drivers of the top 4 separated by about 2-3 car lengths apiece.
And then when you do look behind them, there's a battle for that 5th position, top 5 position being contested. Sean Cool, he looks like actually pretty slow, and looks like there's a lot of action behind him as well. Looks like the number 1 of Dylan Proster. He got a little bit loose off that last corner, so they're going to swarm around him. Rasmussen and Hamill and company, as they are going to go right around him. And looks like Sean Cool just got passed by Wayne McDuff as well. So a lot of battles shaping up right now.
413 on the inside of the racetrack is going to finally get around Cool. Cool was kind of keeping him on his top side, trying to make a fight out of it, but the Bass Pro Shops entry has gone through, and Sean Cool, who appeared to have one of the better cars earlier tonight, is still trying to recover from that nearly spin in turn number 1. Did save it, did bring out a caution flag, though, kicked him all the way to the back, so he's done a pretty good job, though, of getting back up to the top 5.
Oh, yeah, definitely, and I think he's a little bit slower than he was earlier, of course. You know, of course, with the tires, that's just the way it's going to be. But I think in comparison, I think he may have worn his tires off a little bit more than the other guys just because Wayne McDuff was able to get around him. And talk about Wayne McDuff a little bit, because we haven't talked about him all night. And he's one of those guys that has really surprised us. He's in that 413 machine right there in 4th, and he's in a really good position. It's going to be really hard to get any farther up through the field right now, but he's definitely got himself a good bit of a lead between him and the guys behind him. And I'm unsure what happened to Guy Fortin, but he may have just dropped out.
Yeah, the 13 machine just received a throughput fault to an unacceptable level. So that is what I always equate as the sim racing version, as a mechanical failure. It's not something that you can ever predict, but he has had some sort of an issue and has lost connection to the sim. He is loading back in at the moment, but that is going to take him outside of a battle for the top 5 and down to 21st position, already multiple laps down. Speaking of which, though, as we work lap 57 and as time by, take 50 laps to go, we cross the halfway point in tonight's race, so we'll take this opportunity to take a look top to bottom at our iRacing Midway race break, brought to you by iRacing, the leading online racing simulation developed from the beginning as a centralized racing and competition service. iRacing organizes, hosts, and officiates races on virtual tracks all around the globe, and in the fast-paced world of esports, iRacing is a one-stop shop for online action with officially sanctioned series by the likes of NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of of Outlaws, and more. 59 laps into tonight's Quarterfield Chaos 107, presented by the White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated, is Stefan Baranek in front now to the tune of 2 seconds over Kyle Charpentier, who maintains P2. Eric Hang is still running in third. Wade McDuff the third, race high P4 at the moment, and Sean Cool just barely hanging on to a top 5 spot, lost at that time to AJ Hamill. Cool's going to end up P6 with the 7 to Stefan Baranek in a number 7 position. Al Smith Jr. is 8th. Poulsen and Matt Cucker getting those damage fixed up to P9, with Curtis Martin rounding out your top 10.
There in 11th place is Brian Long. James McIntyre Jr. is 26 at the 12th. Then you've got Dylan Prosler. He's going to be in the 13th position. Mike Holtzclaw is in 14th. Alex Oriens, he's in the 15th position. Then Rex Hoyle and Dan Dubuque, they're 16th and 17th. Jay Dubuque is actually still on the track despite the damage. He's in 18th. And then Rudy Wildrick, he is the last car on the lead lap in 19th. Mark Royer, he's the first car lap down in 20th. And then Gabe Fortin, we just talked about him. He's going to be 5 laps down, and the rest of these guys they're also out of the race right now. Jake Watson, Zachary Mason, Scott Naslund, Trevin Valderrama, and Brian Rogers Jr. multiple laps down.
That's a look top to bottom at your iRacing Midway race break. For more information on the wide variety of sim racing possibilities online, visit iRacing.com to sign up today. For the rest of 2017, if you go to iRacing.com/World of Outlaws, you can take advantage of a couple of exclusive promo codes and get yourself a 1-year iRacing membership for over half off the sticker price. Or if you just want to try it out, you can go the 3-month membership route for less than $5. More information on that at iRacing.com/World of Outlaws. Just had a spinner, by the way, for P7. Al Smith Jr. is around, and the caution flag is now going to come out for the number 96 machine.
Yeah, launching it right now here. He was doing battle with the 71, who's been on a tear recently and just spun out and came right back on the track. If he would have kept it below the yellow line, the caution would have came out, but he just barely started spinning and had one of those lazy spins, and brakes are not the greatest on these late models, especially at these highest speeds, and just couldn't slow the car down enough to get the car woe down before he came back at the track. So we'll have a caution flag to just these guys a little bit, and I think there's going to be pit stops here, Evan, that are going to change the way this race is, and here they come.
We speculated earlier that the way these guys like to use those 4 tires is if there's a caution at about the halfway point, you come down and get them. Well, we just wrapped up our iRacing Midway race break, basically just at the beginning now of the run to the end of this. It looks like most everybody from up front has brought it down to the pit lane. They're led by Stefan Baranek. Does somebody think that only 2 tires are going to be enough to do the trick in exchange for some track position, or does everybody up front who has yet to use any of those 4 available Hoosier Racing tires decide to go with the 4-tire call and get that car completely set back up? The call for the race leader of Baranek looks like it is going to be a 4-tire exchange. Crew now just getting over to the left side of that number 25 Chevrolet, so he will go with the 4-tire call, and it looks like it is going to be a relatively safe race off of the pit lane, which tells me everybody agrees with that strategy.
Yeah, just about everyone taking the 4 tires, but there's also a few guys that did not come down. It appears that we do have a few guys going to try something different. Dubuque, he's going to try and get his lap back here, and then Guillaume Fortin, tough luck for him. Of course, he's back out there with that internet fixed up. He's going to have one of his laps back if he continues to stay out there. But Alex Oriens, he's going to be the guy that is still in the lead lap, but currently is the leader with old tires. Now, at a track like this, it does become a little problemsome because he's the only guy with new tires and everyone else has new tires. So they're going to have to navigate around him. He's not going to be fast, I can guarantee that. But he might be able to keep up a fight if he gets a good enough jump. It will make this race interesting, and for him, even if he does cause the caution, or if the caution comes out because everyone's trying to get around him, he can still come back and get those tires. Only bad thing about it is he did cause that first caution.
And he also has some damage, as we were talking about, so some of the issues that have been up with the number 9 car, but at least if he can get that car again in position, the concept is, hey, he had a fast car earlier tonight. He should have a fast car if he can get it as close to 100% as he can. This gamble is going to gain him 13 positions because he was running in 14th before the time of the caution, and he is up front at the moment. Again, still could come down to the pit lane before we go green. The lights are still on top of the pace car. A couple of drivers looking for a wave around. Includes Gilmani Fortin, who was top 5, lost connection to the service, loaded back in, 4 laps down in 21st. A tough break for the driver of the number 13 Chevy.
Yeah, we took a good look at that 13. I mean, he was really fast. You know, he had a lot of momentum, had a little bit of an issue, got in the wall, and just got in the wall a little bit, and now he's in front of the field, but not the way he'd like to be. He's getting that lap back, but you know, it's one of those. You know, it's like kind of like in real life racing with the engines and other parts. You know, there's always bound to be something in the span that you are on the sim that's going to happen that is kind of unexplainable. Or just happens because it's the nature of the sim, and that is one of them, is the internet connection. So it looks like it was maybe just a one-time deal because he looks pretty solid right now, but back behind him, they're about to go racing here, green flag racing, and looks like about 1 lap's time.
Lights set on the pace car, and that wave by is going to go to that number 13 machine. So the 9 decides that he is going to stay out, and he wants to play the strategy card. Marinak is going to give the inside of the front row with that 9 machine once again choosing the top of the racetrack. I do find it somewhat interesting that drivers are choosing the top just based on the rule that you cannot change lanes before the restart. Obviously, the control car has a big upper hand, and the 9 machine should be able to clear the 25 by the time they get to 1, but if Marinak just stays next to him, I gotta think that the fresh tires is going to help that 25 out. The 9's objective, obviously, get clear, get to the bottom with a nice sweeping arc into turns 1 and 2. Try to pull a little bit of time as maybe a battle for second place takes on, because you've got Hag right there in 3rd, McAduff into 4th, and Charpentier inside of the top 5. Those are the names that we have been talking about all night long. Absolutely, though, zero hesitation from Oriens as he restarts us with 68 laps complete, just inside of 40 laps to go from Iowa. But there is Marinak on the inside, has that preferred lane now, and he's got him for the race lead.
And absolutely no contest with that number 9 of Alex Oriens. He's going to lose 2, 3, and probably 4 spots here just within the next couple corners as Marinak's able to swiftly navigate around him. And yeah, he's got another car on the inside. He's going to have Carpier. He's right there on his bumper, and I'd say he's probably going to try and go 3 wide with him through the next corner, but just may not have the ability to. And looks like that's AJ Hamill, I think, who's kind of had a small rebound as well. So he's going to be in the inside of him right now. And now if you're behind the 9, you're kind of a pick. You've got guys going to the inside of you. You can't do much with them. And that's when the accidents start happening, is when you get a little impatient. You start to go 3 wide as they're doing right now.
And Hamill's in front of that all, the 2-time Approval Series champion, the driver who bested the practice session earlier tonight in his Arts Barbershop Chevy, is in P4, and Charpentier still funded with Nicholas Rasmussen. I am shocked this is the first time we're really talking about the 71 tonight, and he's exactly where he started, in P6. Looks like he'll be able to get 5th away from the 333 machine, and he will, but Rasmussen has had a rather challenging and at times quiet night. He's inside of the top 5 now.
But you got to remember, he was in that first accident, so he's got a lot of damage on his machine, and well, you know, he's been able to rebound very nicely. I didn't think he'd be a top 5 car right now, and he is. He's right there in the top 5 despite the damage. I'd say that the tires are really helping him with the handling, and maybe as the run goes on, he may not have that, but I mean, just look at that car. It's absolutely destroyed on the right side. I mean, is a ton of damage, and you know, even though it is not the smallest track, you know, this big track you would typically slow you down, but right now he's holding up Kyle in that 333.
And the 333 machine has been inside of the top 5 basically all night long after starting P9. Matt Kucker's also up in this thing. Don't count out the number 69 machine. Has been on and off of the pit lane, I would think, more than anybody else tonight, mostly for just trying to get his car fixed. He pitted with everybody else, did take on his 4 tires, and is back up to now P7 as he tries to get back up to the front after he gave up the race lead earlier.
Yeah, these guys are really single file right now, and I'd say that Kucker's really the only guy trying a different line. I think everyone's kind of doing that middle to bottom, back to top lane, kind of doing a late apex into the corner, or just a long swoop. But Kucker's actually apexing pretty low, and I'm unsure if he's trying to go for speed or saving tires. Either way, he's doing something totally different than these other guys, and well, he's not really gaining a whole lot out of them, so I'm unsure if he's going to be able to catch some of these guys up towards the front in 25 laps, as we are 3/4 of the way through this race. And Stefan Marinak has an absolutely monster lead between everybody else. I mean, Eric Hag is 6/10 back, but then when you go behind, I mean, McDuff is another 6/10 behind. And that's a 1.5 to him and Marinak, and then the rest of the field. So Marinak's got himself a great lead, and if he starts to back off now, he might be able to save even more of his tires to, you know, continue to battle these guys. But right now it stays solid at 6/10 between the first 3 drivers.
The longest, or rather the largest, I should say, gap we've seen tonight was in Marinak's favor. He got out to a 2-second advantage earlier tonight before a caution flag came out. Right now he's working at a comfortable about 7/10 of a second advantage over Hag, who P2 is really clear by a good bit to Wayne McDuff in 3rd, AJ Hamel 4th, and Nicholas Rasmussen in 5th. I think we've finally gotten to the point of the race, despite the fact that, yes, these are names we've been talking about for the better part of the night. Oh no, the 14 lost it! McDuff spins at a turn 2.
Oh my gosh, that was all on his own too. I have no idea what just happened with the 413, but it just started to spin, and there was nothing he could have done. He locked it down really nice, but man, that's heartbreak for that 413 machine to do so well and be at such a great position. So, wow, that's really unfortunate.
And the second look here on the LSRTV replay is going to show you that, again, he just got sideways in turn 2. It has been a little bit of a calamity corner tonight, and that Tracker Boats machine just looped it around. No caution, though. We stay green, and I think it's even more of a tough break for him because most of the names we've been talking about, top 5, started inside of the top 5, the top 10. In fact, right now, with the 413 dropping out, still on track, but way back in 17th. The top 7 cars on track right now all started inside of the top 10. He was one of the few drivers who had made up a lot after starting 14th and had become a top 5 car, running in 3rd at the moment. This is really going to hurt him. Maybe a couple of late race yellows and some restarts will let him pick up the pieces, but that's the kind of mistake that can really hurt your confidence.
That just goes to show that the guys in that top 10 that qualified there, they also were in the top 10 in practice. They really have a handle on these cars. Not to say that he didn't, that being McDuff, but man, these guys at the front, they've got something going for them. Especially the guys in there right now. They know how to handle these cars pretty well, and you know, overall, you know, we've seen actually quite more spins than we saw last year. I'd say, you know, these cars are a lot more snug. I don't know exactly what happened between the setup or the car in general between this build and last year's build, but something's changed just a little bit in these cars, and a little bit lighter in the rear end possibly, and that's definitely letting these cars just, you know, just slide around just a little bit more. But seeing the battle for the, looks like the 6th position or 5th position between Kutker and Carpentier, and the 3033 is going to have to try and go down back to the bottom. The 69 has a lot of speed in the top. I don't know if he's going to be able to get that position, as they're all going to do battle in front of him. That's the 71 and 18 of Hamel and Rasmussen.
And you would at least like to think, if you're in that number 69 camp, that you do have the better lane to be in. At the moment, a caution flag is going to fly, though. We are not done yet. Problems on the back, and it is with Alex Orions. The number 9 machine decided to not pit on the last yellow, decided to take over the race lead on the old tires, had fallen back to about 13th position at the time. And this one, a self-spin, a little bit different than those we had seen in the past coupe. It was a side-by-side battle between he and the one, lost the fight, I think went for the crossover and just got those left side tires down on the apron, so a little bit of a different means than in some of these other self spins in turn 2 that we've seen. Oftentimes you're not going to be able to get away with something like that.
Yeah, I got right there on the yellows, and I mean, he got not just a little bit of the yellows, but he got a lot of the yellow, and he also had contact with Dan Buick, as you saw. I think that's going to be an end to maybe both their nights. It looks like the 61's still rolling the track, but a lot of damage on there. But man, I think that's going to be a second penalty for the 9 if they go and review it. So not a good night for the 9 to start off for the season. But like I said earlier, I mean, there's a long ways to go in this season. There's 10 regular season races, and then you've got 5 more after that if you make it. So still a lot of room for these guys who have had trouble today.
And unfortunately, not only did the 9 machine lose it, but as well, he kind of took an innocent bystander with him. That car bounced off the wall and tagged Danny Dubuque in the Sonic entry, who was running in 15th position. 61 already had some damage from some previous incidents on the night, but that is really going to hurt him. Not really going to cost him any positions on the racetrack, because with only 17 cars in the lead lap and some of the other drivers involved in the accident down pit road, he's going to end up about where he was. But obviously, anytime you add damage to your car, it is not preferable. So his night gets a little bit more painful as we work into it. When by the time we get the restart, with the lights still back on top of the pace car, inside of 20 laps to go from Iowa, well within the possibilities of one dash to the end.
And the guy in the best position, he's showing his colors here in the last half of the race, is Stefan Marinak right now, and he's of course your leader. He's just really put on a good show for us and for the rest of the field right now to show how fast you can really be. I mean, he's absolutely been in the class of the field ever since he got to the front and really hasn't let it go. There's a lot of fast guys behind him. You still got Hag, Hamill, Rasmussen, and Carpentier. Throw Kucker into that as well. Cool has come back to 7th place as well. So, you've got a lot of these guys that are fast. Is getting that pass done is going to be the most crucial thing, of course, but they don't really have that much time to do it. If Stefan Marinak gets himself a really good jump here on this restart, it might be game over unless they have another restart, just because of the fact that Marinak's been so good on these restarts, and once he gets his lead, he stabilizes it pretty well. He got a 6/10 lead, and it was all it got to. I think he could have went faster if he wanted to, but I think he just stabilized it, and that's the way you kind of win races, is don't do more than you have to, and then if something like a caution comes out, you still have tires to use whenever the opportunity comes.
And just taking a look towards the middle of the pack, I did want to give a shout out to Brian Long, somebody else who we haven't talked all that much about, because he's been, again, just those 1 or 2 positions outside of the top 5 scraps that have been going on basically all night long. And again, there has been fighting throughout the field, but obviously you have to focus on what's going on up front first off. But Brian Long is your biggest mover at the moment. Did not take a time to qualify after being 16th earlier in practice. Rolled off from 25th on the grid, and he is running in P8 at the moment, so he is up a pretty solid, I would say, 17 spots so far to this point. So tip of the cap to the 08 team for being the biggest mover so far tonight. The second biggest mover is Rex Hoyle, who is up 11 spots.
For these big movers, they've had a lot of speed. Some of them had average speed, and they've really just kind of put the ball in when the ball has been in their court, they've really been able to do a lot. And Brian Long in that number 08, he actually was involved in that very first incident, and hasn't really stopped him. And it hasn't stopped Nicholas Rasmussen either, as he's in 4th position after. I mean, his damage is out of this world compared to the rest of these drivers, and he's still wheeling it around this place pretty well. So those guys on the outside line, Marinak's the first guy, but the next 3 rows behind him, all 3 of those guys have had some kind of incident to get them damaged, and I'm really watching those guys on the outside, not just because they're on the outside, because they have damage as well.
And the lights are out on top of the iRacing.com official pace car, so we are going to get a restart. 19 laps to go in tonight's Cornfield Chaos 107, presented by White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated. Is it going to be the final time? You put the loud pedal down. American Ethanol, green flag in the air with 88 laps complete. Stefan Marinak, a good jump for the race lead. 2 car lengths to turn 1, and for the Hag P2 as we go 3 wide for 3rd behind.
The 33 absolutely just threw it in there. You could say he sent it in there, and then, wow, still 3 wide here for that. I don't even know what position they're going to be fighting for. There's so many cars in this mix right now. I just say it for 2nd place. It's an absolute mad dash, and these guys are all over each other. Still 3 wide for that 2nd position, while Stefan Marinak is absolutely just gone. Almost a second already from these guys, and they're going to go 3 wide still for 3rd, 2nd, and beyond. And this is a great fight for these first few positions.
2 wide in the battle for 2nd, and 3 wide in the battle for 4th, with Hamill on the inside. Kucker back up in the mix in the middle, and an odd division of Eric. The outermost lane is going to win off of that fight for the time being. His progress can only go so far, and contact behind. Kucker gonna get turned, and it's a big mess in turn 2.
Oh, there's your big one right there. And it definitely happened right there. Kucker just got ran into right there in turn number 2, and that started everything, and he wasn't able to save that one.
And it was two fast cars, and very similar to the incident that we saw right off of the bat in this race when a contact, happened on the second row with the likes of Hag and other drivers close proximity to it were able to survive, whereas, Orions and Watson weren't as fortunate. That 18, I think, just drove it in too hard into the corner, trying to get the upper hand, and at that point, again, there's not much you can do. I think Cocker did everything he should have, gave him plenty of space, and it was not only those two drivers as well, but the 08 machine, looks like the 96, the 03, a list of drivers behind that get some damage, but you always hate to see two drivers run 90 some odd laps of a race so good for so long and not get the result that they deserved out of it.
Yeah, they weren't the only ones to have issues either. There's a lot of drivers. I mean, we can count probably 6, 7 other drivers. Curtis Martin is in it. AJ Hamill, I think maybe Al Smith within it too. But the 08 once again had another hit on it as well. I think Brian Long had a little bit of front end damage, but he's still going to be able to keep his position. So, I don't know exactly what the 18 had in mind. I mean, he was definitely had a really good run out of 4, but man, it was really close between those two in turn number 1. I think maybe he just like you said, maybe just overdrove a little bit.
The tough break for those two drivers is going to be to the benefit of the likes of Rasmussen, who's going to jump up to 3rd, Hag 4th, Cool in 5th. Obviously a tough break, not only because those were two quick cars. Obviously Hamill bested a practice earlier tonight, but Matt Cocker so meticulously was working his way back up front again. If you weren't with us earlier on, after forfeiting the race lead to come down pit road to get some damage repaired, had just broken back into the top 5. But as always, somebody else's misfortunes is something that somebody else can take advantage of, and our friend Brian Long, who we were just talking about not all that long ago, the 08 machine now plus 19 positions as he assumes P6. Sean Cool, who struggled, I think, in a middle portion of this race, has his entry back inside of the top 5. So while Marinak is going to be in the best spot, obviously controlling this race, having an opportunity to get out and clear out in front, I think this one is still far from over, and while it may not be a challenge for the race lead, because I think this 25 machine is at his best that he's been all night, and he's doing it at the right time, a lot still be decided inside of those top 5, top 10 spots.
Oh yeah, but if they fight like they did that last time, Marinak is going to have a very easy win. If they didn't wreck, that was his race to lose, and it kind of is right now. He's been, ever since he got that lead, he's just been really dominant, and he's definitely going to lead the most laps if he continues to lead the next few laps. I think he might actually already have it locked up right now with, it looks like 43 laps led. So that's, I think it's like a few laps shy, but once we get the green flag, he'll probably lock it up. But, I think the two guys behind them, Carpentier and then Rasmussen, I think those are the guys that might have a shot at it if they get a good restarts. If Marinak gets a good restart like he did last time, it might be just like the last time where the guys behind him are fighting so hard that they may not even have a shot. So definitely looking to see what happens on this restart to see if he gets as good of a jump.
The season opener to this Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series. Tonight for the Iowa Speedway, going to come down to a restart at around 10 laps to go in this Cornfield Chaos 107. Again, the first of 10 regular season races that will take us all the way through to Langley Speedway much later on in the year. The chase for the championship, a 5-race playoff, begins later on as well. The first race being on January the 18th from Richmond Raceway. All of these races going to be found right here live on LSRTV and iRacing Live. And tonight has seen it all. We've seen caution flags, which has meant a lot of restarts, which has meant a lot of great racing up front. And I think there's just a little bit more excitement left in this thing before we're allowed to head home. 11 laps going to be on the board next time by. That's going to be where the restart's going to come from. And for the first time, I think, since the initial drop of the green flag, the control car is going to be on the bottom of the racetrack. Marinak does not choose up top.
And that might be just the way they're starting. I'm not sure. I thought he was doing a really good job on the bottom, and or on the top, and if you're doing something really well, go to the top, but perhaps he knows that the bottom could also have an equal of a jump and maybe be able to take him out. So if he wants to, have a good clean restart and have a good jump, he needs to get on the bottom, I guess, and be able to clear him, because I think if he starts on the top, he might have a small chance of getting a little bit physical with 333.
Still an opportunity for a couple of yellows and some more restarts, but the focus has to be 11 laps to go for Stefan Marinak. Just as good down low. Once again, clear for the race lead to turn number 1. The same can't be said for second. Here comes Nicholas Rasmussen trying to challenge Sharpened. Here, contact at a 2.
Oh, wow. What a move on the outside to keep his position. The 71 of Rasmussen almost had it. He's using the yellow line just a little bit, and he's going to slide it right in front of the 99 right there. And actually, they make a little bit of contact right there for that third position. 99 has a great run. He might be able to clear him into 2, but he looks like he does not have the momentum that 71 does on the outside. So getting really close between these two. It's always kind of a battle for third, it looks like. I mean, the first 2 positions have been up for grab quite a bit too, but Sharpie here, he's not leaving Marinak, really. He's right there. He's running really equal times to him. He's just a little bit slower, but he's been running really similar times.
And the 333 machine at Sharpened here has cleared the excitement behind, so he does have a legitimate shot at Marinak. I don't think that Rasmussen or Hag are going to be able to get up there if this battle goes on for much longer. Hotly contested for third with the 99 of Hag on the inside of the racetrack. That's 7 with Rasmussen top side, and the Sean Cool number 24 entry new driver behind that 24 Chevrolet for this 2017-18 campaign right there in P5. No changes up front, still a 0.3 of a second gap between 1 and 2.
Yeah, this is the battle to watch right now, as you kind of see which one is going to. Oh, they get really close, but there's going to be a caution. They may have 1 restart left in them, and it looks like it's Game Fortin again.
It is a yellow flag, and it is once more involving Fortin's entry. The caution comes with 7 laps to go in this race, and you take a second look at how it all went down on the LSRTV replay. More issues for the number 13 team. Again, turn number 2 just got sideways, and again a driver behind gets caught up, and again it's Dan DeBook, just not the night. The driver number 61 machine involved in that one had absolutely nowhere to go the second time in the last 20-25 laps. He's been caught up in something like that.
Yeah, and when you watch the replay, you could say, oh, he could have slowed down a little bit, but he looked like he actually saved it at one point. So, if I was a driver, I'd say, okay, he's got it saved. I'll just run him on the bottom. And then when he really was losing it, that's whenever he was real hard to break him. He slowed 25 miles an hour before he actually hit him than where he was going in the corner. So a bad night gone worse for the 61. Looks like the farthest he'll go back is maybe 16th, possibly 17th. But yeah, hard night for the 61.
Lucky Dog going to get away by, so at least one driver going to be able to rejoin the lead lap in this one, and it looks like it is going to be the 36 machine of Mark Royer, who's going to be able to get from 2 to 1 laps down. I don't think he's actually going to be able to get all the way back to the lead lap. The one thing, though, that the timing of this yellow guarantees, because we did see X amount of green flag laps off of the most recent restart, is this is going to be the final one. There is no overtime option. This race ends at lap 107. It's not going to be any more laps, it's not going to be any less. Doesn't guarantee that this race is going to end under green. So by the time we restart, this time by, we're already entering 5 laps to go, we will be within that point of no return where the next flag either being the white followed by the checkered or the yellow will tell us who the winner is going to be, which means that Marinak, basically, his sole focus has to be at what I think, don't care if it's going to be 4 laps, don't care if it's going to be 3 laps, that is your secondary thought process, that the front of your mind has to be getting another good restarts. He's done it about 3 times here late in this race from up front, but he just hopes that the 4th one isn't the one that the 33 machine, or the 333 machine behind him figures it out on.
Yeah, it could be one of those restarts where, it's still in the hands of the 25, but you could always do something like spin the tires, not gonna get entrance in the first corner, or the 33 could just time it just right. You've kind of have to play a little bit of games here. If someone says, playing games as the restart for the restart is not gamesmanship, then I'd say, it's a win on the line. The 25 has the ability to kind of go whenever he wants to, and if it goes really early or really late, that could really throw any of these guys behind him off. So I really think that, you know, Marinak's got to really think about when he's going to go. Obviously, he can't alter his speed. That's not legal in this series, but he's got to think pretty much where he wants to go before he does it, and hope that the 33 does not get a good jump, because the 33 has a good jump. He's been really fast. He's been there. He's been basically equal. He's just got to find a way to get by him. I don't know if he's going to have that chance if the 25 gets a good restart, but he will have that chance if he gets an equal start or greater than one the last time.
All eyes are on that pace car, because that extra 7/8 of a mile or one last lap of 7/8 of a mile could be a big difference maker in how this race is going to come to a close. The 25 slots down to the bottom, which would tell me that the next time by, the lights would be going out on top of the pace car. If they do, next time by, we will restart to complete lap 105, and it is simply going to be a 2-lap shootout to the end, basically a non-overtime green-white checker finish.
Yeah, it looks like it's what it's going to be. We'll have to see this time by, as the pace car is going to wrap around the start-finish line, and it looks like they're getting ready to go too wide, so I say, yeah, looks like we're going to get the green flag on lap 106, and then the white flag on lap 107.
It is going to be a 2-lap shootout to the end of this race. Here's how they rack them and stack them. Stefan Marinak is going to be the control car. He's going to be on the inside of the front row once more. It worked last time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Outside of the front row, the 333 of Kyle Charpentier, followed by Nicholas Rasmussen in third. That's the bright green number 71 division on the bottom of the racetrack. Eric Hagg to the outside of row number 2 in fourth. Sean Cool in P5. There is also going to be a total of 15 cars battling on the lead lap, which means that even though it might not happen up front, some contesting deeper in the pack could lead to the caution flag that ends this race. If you get to the white, it doesn't matter how many cars get junked. The checkered flag decides it. If a yellow becomes before then, the moment of yellow determines the finishing order. Here we go one last time from Iowa. Stefan Marinak takes the green flag. 2 laps to go in the Cornfield Chaos 107.
He does get a good restart here, and that's going to be all what he needs, and he's already got himself a couple car lengths of a lead. But how much speed does the 333 have? He doesn't really have that much, actually, because he's already been contested for position. The 71 of Nicholas Rasmussen, he's already there. He's showing why he's a champion, coming back from a first or second lap wreck to come back and to be in third. And right now, all eyes are at the very front while they're battling behind him.
Side by side for second, still with Charpentier on the outside of the racetrack. It looks like he'll be able to get this over Rasmussen. The 71 bobbles, and he's going to be under fire from Eric Hagg, and there's going to be contact. 2 cars going to spin at a turn number 2. No caution, though, and we are going to stay green to the end for Stefan Marinak at his peak when it mattered the most. An uncontested checkered flag winner tonight from Iowa.
And it's so strong, and that wreck really hurt those guys on the back straightaway. They went from 3rd, 4th, all the way back to, I think, 14th and 15th. So really, really hurt for those guys. But right up front, Marinak, obviously, from lap 50 on, it was his show. You know, he led the most laps tonight and definitely showed how good he is at these tracks. And he's saying he's won a lot of races in this series, and it'll definitely be a good one to start off for this season, to start off with a win.
The 25 machine has some celebrating to do on the front straightaway, but there's your top 3. Charpentier ends up P2, Sean Cool ends up in 3rd, and it may just seem like a cruddy end to the night. The 2 drivers involved in that accident down the back straightaway with Eric Hagg and Rasmussen coming home 15th and 14th respectively, but remember, that could be huge. Come a chase cutoff, because if you're short by 12 points, you gave up 12, battling for an extra point here and there. So again, that goes back to the mentality of, is it worth me pushing it a little bit extra to get that 3rd place instead of taking a P4 result? The racer in you, I think, is very rarely on a white flag lap coupe to say, you know what, I'd rather just be safe and take the points. When you're in the zone there on the last lap, you go for it. And unfortunately, especially early in the season, sometimes you throw that little bit of extra caution to the wayside, and it could bite you down the line. Only time will tell, but right now it's just a heartbreaking end for those 2.
Yeah, but it's all eyes up front. Stefan Marinak, of course, getting the win, and like you said, you know, each race matters. You know, it's only 10 races. One bad race can put you in a big pickle. So these guys up front, Marinak sharpened here, cool. You know, we'll talk to them in a little bit, but you know, those guys getting off on the right foot, and those guys towards the back, you know, you got to think about Valderrama, Rogers, Mason, Aslan, all those guys to the very back. They've got their work really cut out for them. So definitely something that we will definitely something that we'll keep our eyes on, and the points will be updated into next week, and we'll be able to give a better look at what the championship or the regular season looks like for these guys.
And Stefan Marinak's celebration is going to take him back to victory lane, where we will catch up with him in just a moment. But first, though, we'll take this opportunity to step aside, and when we come back to the Iowa Speedway post-race interviews with your top finishers. You're watching LSRTV's coverage of the 2017-2018 Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series at iRacing Live. We head to Gatorade Victory Lane with Stefan Marinak when we come back. Welcome back live to the Iowa Speedway, where LSRTV's continuing coverage of the Upstate Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series got kicked off tonight, and it will carry on for 14 more weeks over the course of this 17-18 campaign. But the season is officially underway, and we have our first winner on the year, taking home tonight's Cornfield Chaos 107, presented by White Knuckle Clothing. Stefan Marinak is down in Gatorade Victory Lane. We will try to catch up with him in just a moment. But as we welcome you into our LSRTV post-race show, Evan Pasoko, Austin Coop, topside with you with Cisco Scarbusa downstairs. We take a look first, top to bottom, at our LSRTV full race results. Amerinet gets the win to the tune of 0.5 of a second, but it's all said and done over Kyle Carpentier, who is able to hold off Sean Cool, who assumes the number 3 position after an accident in front of him on the last lap. Also pumping Brian Long up as your biggest mover, ends up plus 21 spots on the night in 4th, and Dylan Prosler rounds out the top 5. Wade McDuff, the 3rd, stays at about where he was second half on through in P6, with Mike Holtzclaw coming up in 7th position. Another valiant drive by James McIntyre Jr., plus 18 positions to come home at 8th tonight. Rex Hoyle comes home 9th, and Al Smith Jr. rounds out your top 10.
Finishing in 11th is Matt Cucker. Then you have Rudy Woodrick. He finishes in the 12th position. Daddy Buke had a rough night. He's going to finish in the 13th position. Nicholas Rasmussen, equally as rough of a night, in 14th, and Eric Hagg, 15th. Mark Royer, he finishes in the 16th position. Gabe Fortin finishes 17th. Dan Dubuque will finish 18th. AJ Hamill, 19th, and Curtis Martin, 20th.
Continuing on through the rest of these drivers, multiple laps down and out of this, and you got Alex Oriens in 21st position, Jake Watson in 22nd, with Scott Naslund, Zachary Mason, and Trevin Valderrama 23rd, 24th, and 25th. Brian Rogers Jr. in 26th position rounds out a look top to bottom at your LSRTV full race results. Celebrations ongoing for the 25 team. In the meantime, Austin Coop is trackside with your 2nd and 3rd place finishers, beginning with the 333 of Kyle Charpentier, who comes home in 2nd tonight.
Yeah, I'm sitting on pit road with the number 33 of Kyle. And Kyle, you had a really good night. You came from 9th and went all the way to the front. And you had some real good speed, just a little bit short tonight. Talk to us about your night and really exactly what was the difference between getting P2 and P1 tonight?
Well, going into the night, I just wanted a finish. The last 2 races I did in this league at Iowa did not turn well. I didn't get past 10 laps, so I actually haven't driven that track past 10 laps in a race. So I was just going in there wanting to survive. Once we got new tires, that's when I was like, all right, I got to start worrying about positions and such. Actually, before I took tires, I don't know if you guys saw, but I tried to make a pretty big move on the outside to see how that was working, how dirty it was, and how much speed there was there. And it turned out there was a lot of speed, so I was hoping to put that information after I got tires. But after I got tires, I was trying to get positions. Car was much tighter than I expected on new tires, actually, especially trying to do 3-wide on the bottom. I haven't tried that, so that was all new. It was pretty scary, but fortunately the cautions fell to where I could cool down my tires under the caution, regroup myself, and that 25 has just had great pace, great short run, just enough short run to have enough long run to outrun everyone, but not enough to lose too many positions. He was just on point. I don't think I could have done much more to prove my time there. So that's how this race went.
Well, I guess for you, it's a big win in your book, and you get to look on to next week, which is Stanford, which is about 125 laps. Talk to us about Stanford and what your program looks there, and I know you didn't expect to get this good of a finish. Maybe when you're in the position you'd like to have gotten that extra position, of course. But going on to the next race, you'll be 2nd in points. That probably feels really good to know that there's maybe not as much stress going into the next race.
Well, actually, I'm going to have to take my provisional to the next 2 weeks. I'm on a family vacation, so I'm going to have to get 10 points for the next 2 races, basically finishing 30th or dead last. So I'm just going to have to move on from there, focus on the 4th week of the season, and see where I stand in points there, see what I have to do to make it in the top 10 for the chase.
All right there, Kyle. Before we let you go, as always, we do want you to give you the floor for a moment and give you a chance to give shout-outs and sponsors.
I'd love to give a shout out to White Knuckle Clothing. Without them, this race would not happen. This league wouldn't have enough funds or anything. I'd like to thank Al as well for running this league. Without him, this league would not exist either. I'd also like to thank Oculus because they give me the vision to see where I am, see how close I need to be to other cars. VR is a great experience. If you haven't tried it, you should try it. So that's who I have to thank.
Well, there you have it. The number 33 of Kyle Charpentier. Is that how you say your last name?
Yes, it is.
Alrighty, well, there you have it from the number 33 machine. We'll hope to see you next week, and good luck to you next week.
Well, thank you.
All right, and as I moved my way down, I'll get on to number 24 of Sean Cool. Sean, you had kind of an up and down night and kind of squeaked away with the top 3 podium finish here. Talk to us about your night.
Yeah, we found a little luck there, to be honest. I mean, we were fast. We should have been up there to begin with. We had some unlucky times during the race and some lucky times, especially there at the end. So definitely can't complain there. Just a real kind of wild race. Kind of a little bit more sloppy than we're used to, I guess, here. But you know, it's the first race, so we'll clean a lot of that up for next week. But it looks like a good finish for us.
Yeah, speaking of how well you did here, you started in the 7th position and kind of rode around the top, and then looks like you did have a couple of issues out there in the track. What were the conditions like out there for you in particular? You know, we really saw the high side be pretty dominant, but the passing looked like it had to be on the bottom there for most of, if not all the passes.
Yeah, it seemed like the low lane, if you can make it work, you can make some good ground, you can make some passes, but you really, at least for me, it seemed like you can only do it for a little while. Once you got the tires hot, that it just got so loose with the setup tonight. The track temp was quite tall. We were up in the 78s, almost 80s, I think, so you really had to manage the tire temps and trying to keep the car underneath you. That's why I think you saw a lot of 3-wide action when guys were getting loose, and I think you saw a lot of side-by-side racing tonight just because the car was so difficult to drive, but definitely a fun race for sure.
Well, before we let you go, as always, you know, you had a good night tonight, and obviously can't happen alone, so I'll give you the floor to give your shout-outs and sponsors to whoever made it happen for you tonight.
Yeah, I'd like to thank my 2 main sponsors that I'm running this year. They came back from last year, so I'm running Skidoo and Pink Ribbon Riders, so I want to thank them. I'd like to also thank Al Smith Jr. for running this league. It's a blast to come out and run, and I got to thank all my teammates, Justin, Adam Hamill, and Al Smith Jr. for helping me prepare, helping the team prepare for these races. We do a lot of practice and a lot of testing, and a little bit of talking and all that kind of stuff about what we want to do, strategize, and all that kind of stuff coming in. So it's always a help, so I'd like to thank them, and you guys for doing a great job up in the booth.
Well, there you have it, 24 of Sean Cool, and I'll pass the mic down to Evan Pasoko, who will be with our winner of Stefan Marinac.
Yeah, and at the end of the night, the number 25 machine, Stefan Marinac, ends up in victory lane, and we're trackside with him. Stefan, congratulations on the win. No doubt that you guys had a fast car all night long, top 5 at practice, top 5 at qualified, but it looked like you guys were the best car at the end of this race, and it looked like it definitely helped you on those last couple of restarts there, convincing on that 2-lap shootout to the end, a half a second in front.
Yeah, it was a really good race. You know, the first half of it especially, it was just really hard racing, and everyone was switching spots and stuff. And then once I kind of got out front, you know, I just kind of paced it, and sorry for making it boring in the second half, but I really enjoyed it.
It is never something that the driver in front of all of the action is going to complain about. And I know that the guys were hoping, I think, that those last couple of restarts with those yellows would have given them an opportunity to maybe get up on you, but you guys looked just a little bit too quick for them to be able to catch up to. I did notice, though, at least early on for the most of this race, I'd actually say, about 3/4, the control car would always go topside. You went with the bottom there late. Was that just because you were that confident in the car, or you just didn't want to give anybody an opportunity to get down on that inside of you?
Well, I struggled a bit on the top. Like, everyone else was making it work, but I really couldn't. So the bottom worked for me better, and I think the couple times I went to the bottom, there was a good car behind me, and so I figured, you know, that they could race the second place car if I didn't pull away enough. But yeah, I mean, you know, that the control car had everything. When I was in second, I got really bad restarts earlier in the race, and then at the end there, you know, I was just able to pull away every time.
First race on the season, first win on the season is always a good thing as you guys take home tonight's Cornfield Chaos 107 presented by White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated. I know that the objective for you guys, having been in this series now a couple of goes around, is to compete for championships, and you start tonight off well. It is the first of a long road with 14 races still to go, but how important do you see it in your mind, not only just to get the best result you can week in and week out, but especially compared to some drivers tonight who had fast cars, cars started up front and finished well outside of the top 10, some even outside of the top 20, to get this win out of the way early on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. It's extremely important. There were a lot of cars, really good cars, that got caught up in that first wreck, and then, you know, through pit strategy and stuff, some other ones got cycled to the back. So it's going to be really important. I really didn't finish well at all in the approval series against some of these guys. So to get a win the first race of the season, you know, it's good to be ahead a little bit.
We'll let you get out of here. I know it's been a long and hard-fought night, but before we do, as always, the sponsors and the shout-outs. Who makes it happen for you in that 25 team?
Yeah, go Gators. Running the University of Florida car this year, and did this one-off paint scheme tonight to tribute their tribute uniforms that they're going to be playing with this week. And I also want to thank the sponsor of the series, White Knuckle Clothing. Without them, we couldn't run, and you guys for doing the broadcast.
It's your race winner tonight for the Iowa Speedway, maybe the first of many this season for Stefan Baranek. Stefan, it's always a pleasure chatting. Congratulations again, and we'll see you guys in 1 week's time when you go and try to get another one.
Thank you.
The 25 machine with that special paint scheme on board, it's looking sharp, and he did it its justice by parking in victory lane tonight from Iowa Coupe. And we can officially say for the first time in 7-8 months that we are back racing with the Upstead Racing League, and we're looking forward to this series, and we hope that everybody's with us every single Thursday night. Tonight was fun, but it is just a taste of the action still to come as the series rolls into Stafford Motor Speedway next week.
Yeah, looking forward to Stafford. It's definitely a lot different track than this, a lot flatter, a lot shorter, and definitely going to be a lot more close action there. You're still going to see this as side-by-side action, but definitely going to be a lot closer than it is at this track and a lot lower speeds, but it definitely doesn't mean that the action isn't going to be any different than it was tonight. We're still going to have a lot of battles, a lot of fast drivers rising to the top, and we're going to see a lot of good action next week.
The best part of all of that is that you don't have to wait 7 days to find LSRTV back here on iRacing Live again, because we still have coverage through the rest of the week, including tomorrow night with the Super Speedway Cup Series back in action at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, and then this Saturday, the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Championship continues to work into its regular season calendar with coverage of that one beginning at 10 o'clock. For those on the East Coast, you can get a full look at our upcoming broadcast schedule by logging online to www.livesimracing.com. But I think the best way to keep up to date with us and to make sure you don't miss a single race is by keeping up with us on social media. On Twitter, that's a follow at LSRTV, and on Facebook, it's a like at facebook.com/LSRTV official. Until next time, though, on behalf of the entire team at Live Sim Racing LLC, everybody behind the scenes who makes this thing happen, for DJ Law and Laura Lawson, and of course everybody who makes it happen topside on the bike in the booth, night in and night out, and of course for your team tonight. For myself, Evan Pasoko, for Austin Coop, and our producer Cisco Scaramuza, I want to thank you for joining us and congratulate Stefan Baranek. He opens up the Upstead Racing League White Knuckle Clothing Incorporated Pro Late Model Series with a win. 14 races still to go as short track action takes over LSRTV for the fall and winter months, and you can catch the next race next week. Same time, same place for the Arts Barbershop 125 from the Stafford Motor Speedway. That race and every race on this 2017-2018 Pro Late Model Series campaign can be found right here at LSRTV, your home for sim racing. Until next time, good night.